all of the long-term interest, indeed short-term interest rates, in the last several years are the lowest in American history. As part of the data system in our book, we carry interest rates all the way back. And we do have government yields going all the way back, with the exception of 2 years. Those 2 years didn't have any because there was no debt. I mean, that sounds incredible. This is not, I don't mean there's no deficit, right, but there's no debt. And as a result, we are in uncharted territory, really.
What were those 2 years we had no debt?
Sorry, what?
What were those 2 years that we had no debt?
1834 and 36. Yes. Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson.
You know, he may well have been a populist in the conventional sense of the word, but he was a fiscal bear.
Hated banks.
Can you write the next 10-year chapter on capitalism in America? What do you see?
Well, we really argue in this book that America's current slow growth in productivity is a policy choice. It's not something that's the result of being a mature economy. It's not something that's the result of technology not having the push that it ought to. Or even demographics, because America's demographics is not as bad as many other countries. America could easily go back to being this paragon of creative destruction and a very rapidly growing economy if it wasn't for some very foolish policy choices. The problem is, to have better policies, you need to have better politicians and better governance, and we're not seeing many signs of that at the moment.
Can I ask you just a larger question about this, about capitalism, which of course is being challenged, or at least people are raising questions about it, in terms of the inequality that it has created. And this is why I go back to what I was talking about, sort of post World War II, and the competition or lack of competition in the rest of the world. I would make an argument to you that the fact that there was less inequality during that period was a function of the fact that we were not competing on a global scale, meaning because we had a monopoly, the labor movement was allowed to move forward. All sorts of things were able to be paid for effectively, if you will, that today are much harder to pay for given the competition and the global competition that we have. And therefore, it raises questions to the degree that people have a view about what capitalism and the American dream looked like in the 1950s and 60s relative to today.
I mean, I think there are two determinants. One is public policy and public policy choices, and the other is global competition. But I think that when you're thinking of inequality, there are two sorts of very different sorts of inequality. One is inequality that's produced by somebody like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates coming up with some brilliant idea which produces products which everybody wants, makes them cheaper and better. And the other is the inequality that comes from cronyism, from political connections. Now, the first sort of inequality, I don't really worry. I don't worry about Bill Gates or Steve Jobs when he was alive having so much money. I do worry about connections and cronyism, because what inequality is often a sign of is that somebody's come up with an idea which makes everybody else's life much, much better. But in terms of the size of the American middle class, I would say that if you have a functioning, successful education system, you're doing much more to create the foundations of a stable middle class than if you have a trade union.